Dear modeling friends, in this episode we're going to use the distressing technique to paint the mighty KV-2. But first, as always, I prime my models. For this model I use the Mission Model brand paints. They are pretty special in the thinner to color ratio, so watch out and follow the instructions given on their website. There's no need to thin them down like Tamiya or any other lacquer based paints. Just a few drops of thinner are enough. You can even spray the primer without thinner at all. The caps and the droppers of the paints are pretty easy to use, which I like. As you can see, the black primer is really dark and semi-flat. It almost reflects no light. I use a dark primer so there won't be any bare plastic visible when there are spots without a green base coat. There's not much more to see, so it is a good time to take a second and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more scale aircraft and tanks being built. Any support is much appreciated. Now to the base coat. As I'm following loosely Uncle Nightshift's distressing workflow, there will be three main colors I use. The real Russian dark olive and two lighter shades I'm mixing with it. So the first will be the medium Russian green mixed from Russian dark olive and the Russian World War II 4BO. With this mixture I cover the whole model in several good layers. In my opinion, if you use the Mission Model brands, the layers have to be pretty wet or they will give you a slight orange peel or rough surface. When the colors are applied and not fully dry, they appeal much lighter. A short disclaimer regarding the colors. As I have a much more artistic approach than depicting a real-life tank, I use colors which I like and I think will give a nice appealing result. So please excuse me if I didn't use any real green color used by the Russians. Even though I was researching which brand of color is similar to real life, there were many different opinions. But anyway, with the distressing technique applied, followed by oils and weathering, the base coat will alternate in green tones. I covered the whole model with two good layers of the heavy chipping effects fluid from AK. I could have used hairspray, which is much faster, but when I apply the solution with the airbrush, I have much more control over the coverage, that every surface has an even coat. After it dried, I mixed a much more lighter color variant from the Russian dark olive and the Russian World War II 4BO. Again, only a few drops of thinner are needed, like only 10% of the mixture is thinner. Then I applied the lighter color in cloudy patterns, not covering the whole model, concentrating it more to the exposed surfaces. The drying time of the Mission Model paints are very short. After several minutes I started the chipping procedure with soft brushes and water. At first I applied too much water, so big chips, or you can call it even flakes, got worn off. Even though I wanted many small little chips. So I took less water, like on the turret, and scrubbed a little bit longer. Next time I'll try it on the underside of the tank first to get the feeling of how much water is needed to get nice chips with this chipping solution. As mentioned before, the chips on the turret are in much better scale than on the chips on the hull. As the next step of the distressing method, which I saw on Uncle Nightshift's videos, I applied the pure Russian dark olive on the more hidden and not so exposed surfaces like corners and crevices. To finish the distressing method, I took a very light green color like this Russian highlight from the Ammomic color modulation set and painted just a few prominent little things to create some more contrast. In my opinion, the distressing method aims to create more contrast over the base coat. In the later steps, the distressing effect won't be so visible anymore. It'll be toned down by oil paints and weathering, but it will still enhance the base coat. Creating contrast is very important to guide the viewer's focus over the model's surface and to tell a story of a tank. To give some additional attention to the tank, I've printed out a nice number in a fictional Russian font and cut it out with the hobby knife. It doesn't have to be perfect, it'll work more as a guide for the markings. I sprayed the number with a regular white color on the turret sides. Then, with thinned down Vallejo white, I repainted some parts of the markings to create some structure. It is important to mention that the distressing technique is not to create paint chips created by scratches or impacts on the base coat per se. In my opinion, it is to recreate the base coat which was exposed to weather conditions, usage of the vehicle and the quality of the paint which was worn down. To finish the painting stage, I sprayed a good coat of semi-gloss clear from Tamiya thinned with their own lacquer thinner. I won't use any more varnishes on this model, and the upcoming oil techniques will work great on this surface. A big thank you to everyone who watched the video until this point. Leave a like or a dislike if you want to, but much more important for me is that you got some motivation out of this video to try out some new techniques or to get to your modeling bench at all. Thank you again for your support and see you in the next video.